Hey gentlefolk, my name is Malte Krug. Welcome back to another episode of All About Keys. For this one I have to go back a bit and give you a little prologue because I'm planning to make a series out of this. Don't worry, won't take long. I got interested in synthesizers early in life and started playing keyboards in bands at the age of 15, after already enjoying piano lessons since I was 7. But I couldn't afford a professional synthesizer until 1987, and that has been the DX7 Mark II, by the way. Getting information about synthesizers then wasn't as easy as nowadays with the internet. My go-to source of information used to be the German KEYBOARDS Magazin, and I dug myself in every month to read it from cover to cover in one row to suck up all info I could get. Magazines like Soundcheck, Musikmagazin or others covered the whole variety of instruments for a band, so were only in parts of interest for me. The KeyboardsMagazin, here I have the first 6 issues, started in 1984 and stopped in December 2019 to exist as an individual magazine. So it happens to be 40 years ago the first issue got released, and that gave me the idea to go through each issue together with you on a monthly basis at its 40th anniversary and check out equipment tests, mock old-fashioned layout, mention interesting readers' letters to the editor, or adverts of gear. But that alone would be boring, I guess. I will mention classic pieces of gear when its test will be in the magazine, but mostly I will focus on units that I have in my collection and will be able to present to you in the flesh, so to speak. These will be shown in action not only with the sound examples, but also possible quirky handling and anything else noteworthy I experienced using these items over the years. I thought of this to evolve into a chronicle of some kind, and of course I checked ahead through the upcoming issues of the magazine, and there might be more than one episode per month, when it happens that there are multiple pieces of gear to be mentioned in the respective issue, depending on the running time of resulting videos. Or I will drag one unit into the next month when it happens that I actually don't own any of the tested gear of the respective issue. That is the basic premise of this series, and I hope you like it and want to see more. You know what to do when you don't want to miss an episode. So here it is, the first issue of the German Keyboards Magazin. According to the title, it obviously covers keyed instruments and home recording and computers. They later dropped the home part of the title to sound more pro. Let me send you back in time to explain the situation a keyboard player faced in 1984. The year before that, 2 milestones got introduced and one of them never got out of fashion. I'm speaking of MIDI, the musical instrument's digital interface, which is still a standard today. If you like to see a full video episode about MIDI, its history, special gear and functions in detail, leave a comment down below. The other one was the Yamaha DX7 synthesizer, which introduced a new kind of digital sound synthesis for a reasonable price and larger polyphony compared to the expensive analog synth monsters of the time. And it was a lot lighter and could replace some of the old massive units in a regular keyboard rig. This got more people interested in synthesizers because it became more affordable to more people to actually own one. Alas, not for me, though. Yet. There I was, as a young synth enthusiast without a proper synthesizer, trying to learn more about these instruments, which in the day I still couldn't afford, and then this magazine came into my life. Others looked at fancy car magazines. I looked at this. Okay, let's see how this magazine is set up and check out some articles in this. And immediately, even before we reach the content list, we find adverts from 2 of the most modern pieces of gear of the day. The PPG system from Germany and the Kurzweil K250 from the US. On the left you see the whole system of PPG units, starting with a wave synthesizer and the PRK keyboard with weighted keys. No MIDI. Plus the Waveterm sample unit. This looks like the first version with the 8-inch floppy drives, and on top the EVU, expansion voice unit, which is basically a wave as a rack. This and the K250 were both in the 5 digits range, and that meant that these dream machines were unobtainium for somebody like me. But back to the magazine. Here's the content list, and you could see how this was set up. At first, some serial feature articles, which would be followed up in upcoming issues, then some one-off features about musicians, basics about gear or music fairs, followed by test reports. And one of the tested units I will show you a little later in this video, so stay with me. Followed by a number of workshop series. In the day, these were for us what YouTube videos nowadays are. This is more than a decade before the internet was even invented, so if you didn't have a teacher or an expert in the local music shop to get stuff explained, these were your lifeline. Next page, we have letters to the editor, and I have no idea where they got these from, in the first issue, I mean. A new section with some funny 80s layout design to stretch this over 2 pages. The aforementioned artist portraits. And a short feature about how a piano is built, which is my cup of tea, because originally I'm a piano builder. And here's the first test I like to mention. This is the oldest ancestor of Steinberg's Cubase, written for the Commodore C64 computer, a 16-track MIDI sequencer. Followed by the first part of a feature about MIDI, which was still brand new, and you had to be lucky to find somebody in the music shop to explain this to you properly. So this was very interesting. And here is another ad of a dream machine of the 80s. Unlike the PPG system, I never worked with a Fairlight. I just ran into one when it got brought into the music shop I was working in during the 90s for repairs. Once in a while, they came up with do-it-yourself manuals for useful tools, in this case a simple MIDI data indicator. You connect the MIDI out of a synthesizer or sequencer to this, and the LED would flash as soon as data is flowing. Good for diagnosing broken cables, for example. I will mention this test because this unit is thought after today, but I can't show it to you because somehow I never tripped over this rack synth. It's the Roland MKS30. The rack version of the famous JX3P, but it has the advantage of being able to be played dynamically. This is the so-called sound börse, where readers could send in their own sound creations for publication on these datasheets. Blank ones were printed at the end of synthesizer manuals, so you could photocopy some more for your own use. In this issue, the sounds come from 2 of the magazine's authors. Here's an example of a typical 4-track tape unit that was affordable for a regular musician to multi-track his demo songs on. This is 15 years before Steinberg came up with their Cubase VST, virtual studio technology, on a regular computer. Most people didn't even own computers in those days, so recording was done either in expensive studios or with one of these on cassette. I have a later model from Yamaha still lying around, and if you would like to see a video about how to use one of these recorders for a demo song, leave a comment down below. A test for a digital delay unit made by Korg. If you needed more than one delay, you had to buy more of these. It's very different to just adding another instance of a delay plug into a track in your DAW, and it cost you around $350. And here are the workshops, ranging from home recording basics, in this case about mixing desks, drum computer programming, and sound analysis and synthesis. Or practical use of synthesizer sounds in an arrangement, in this case the Billie Jean synth bass line. With a handwritten score sheet because, like I said, not a lot of people owned a computer or a printer. Followed by the first part of a piano workshop about David Foster's style of ballad piano playing. But now for the machine that I want to show you. It's this Yamaha computer, the CX5m. Here it is, in full glory. This is the whole machine. Compared to nowadays computers, it's very small, obviously. This contains everything you would need in the day, plus MIDI and some extra audio outs for the built-in sound module, which is this one. I won't be able to show the functions of this machine because this brick of a power supply packed up during the last 40 years at some point, but I got the next generation CX5M, which is working, and basically it looks the same. Okay, so here's the basic system. You got the CX5M, in this case the second version of it with more RAM and some other functions, which the first one didn't have, including 2 slots here. This is already a RAM pack. It has another slot in the front, which the first one doesn't have, and this comes with the FM voicing program Mark II. So you could edit the internal FM sound unit. This is the big key version, regular size. And this is the small key version if you use it as a toy for your kids or you are happy with the size of keys. Both versions, like I said, are not velocity sensitive. Software was delivered on these kind of cartridges, and you would put them into these slots. Come with a proper manual in 3 languages, and the cartridge, of course. The FM Music Composer is kind of a step sequencer for the internal sound device of the CX5M. We're going to check it out briefly in next month's video of this series, because German Keyboard Magazin tested it. But these two were actually the software you would buy this for, this computer. You would use it to either have easier editing of your DX7 or your DX9 available. If you want to see me use this on a DX9 or a DX7, just leave a comment down below, and I might do a video out of it. One software that is actually using the MIDI interface is this one, the MIDI recorder cartridge. So this was compatible with MIDI. Like I said, it's using the MIDI interface to get data in and out. You could use the floppy disk drive, which I don't have, and you could use a mouse. And I got one connected here, and it's from my Roland S-series samplers because they're compatible. This is basically the ancestor of something like Steinberg 24-track or C-Lab Creator for the Atari ST computers. So what is happening if you got the basic unit? You got a CX5M, okay, I'm cheating a bit, this is CX5M Mark II, and you got the keyboard connected, which is specially made for this computer and won't work with anything else. And there's only a RAM cartridge, because you want to save some data you actually created, and then you switch it on. Well, let's just do it. So as you can see, it boots into BASIC. BASIC is a very early programming language which I learned at school and forgot everything about because I never used it again. So one special thing that this thing can do is use the internal, fully fledged Yamaha 4-operator FM synth. And you just type in call music, like I just did, and hit return. And there you go. After this monstrous, glorifying animation, you get to see this. And you can actually hear something already if you hit the keys. And if you want to see a list of all the built-in voices, you hit F3. More animation, and there you got a list of the built-in sounds. 48 of them. 48 is empty. But you can just go there, hit enter, and you play the other sounds. Some basic FM sounds for operators, only sinus. This is a sound that definitely everybody wanted in the day. It's the electric piano from the DX7 Ish it is. This bellish electronic piano showed up on every other pop song in the day. But it sounds much better with the chorus. And of course, some reverb. So I'm gonna put it on, and there it is. Especially this sound doesn't shine without the dynamics of a keyboard. No difference. In the original, the CX5 couldn't use MIDI to play its internal sound unit, but the CX5M Mark II can. So that's why I'm gonna exchange this keyboard to make room for an actually velocity-sensitive keyboard. And what else would I take a DX7? So let's go. So, switch the DX7 on. And CX5M. Calm music. This is the second version of it. For the original CX5M, this looked much more analytic and not as fancy as this. You can play instruments, and from the MIDI keyboard you can do that dynamically. Like I said, the original CX5M couldn't do this. So this is not the only thing you can see on this page, because if you scroll down using the cursor, see play mode, single, split, represented by the different color of the keyboard on the screen. We got a bass in the lower octaves and the aforementioned electronic piano up here. You could even change the octave, so this isn't too low. For example. So the poly mode is basically only for playing the internal sound module, putting two sounds in various ways onto your keyboard, a single one, split keyboard, or layer, which is just two sounds stacked. Of course, then the whole thing is only 4 voices polyphonic. But poly mode is not the only mode you can run this. This is solo mode. For the solo mode, the software switches the internal sound unit into mono mode, which means it can do more than 1 or 2 sounds. Actually, it would be able to do 8 sounds, but only monophonic, which means you can only play single lines. No chords. That's the mode that's needed for this funny drum machine. But you see here, there's bass as well and chords, and there's a section of the keyboard colored, and this indicates what nowadays would be like switch keys, and you could hit a key and it would play chords. You hit a basic key for the chord. For example, if you hit a black key as well, it switches to minor. Or you add a 7. You could play with this, especially in connection with the drum beat. could change the bass sound or the chord. Start mode sync just means it starts when you hit a key. Why I'm using the YK keyboard to trigger the chords and the drum machine is because it doesn't work over MIDI. And I tried every MIDI channel, no chance. So, those were the basic features of a Yamaha CX5m out of the box with the keyboard attached, but without extra software. From this brief overview of it, this computer might not look very impressive or special in hindsight, but the new FM sounds were really sought after in the early 80s. And this offered one way of getting those into your setup, plus all the advantages of a computer system. And when you already owned a DX7 or a DX9, having the ability of editing and saving your own sounds of those synths on your computer, supported by a graphical interface with a better overall view of what you were doing than those tiny displays, could have sounded somewhat attractive to some people. Getting, in addition, all the possibilities a regular computer was offering, like word processing for example or games, might have influenced some decisions not to buy the synthesizer hardware instead. The CX5m Mark II got rid of some setbacks the owners of the first version had to deal with, most importantly being able to have the internal sounds played by a regular MIDI keyboard. But MSX computers never really took off outside of Japan, and so the CX5m didn't sell too well anywhere else in the world. Next month I will show you a bit more of the CX5m, but also something that is somewhat closer to my passion of electronic musical instruments. Thanks for watching this video, and if you liked it, please leave a like, subscribe to the channel and ring the bell. See you again soon for the next episode on All About Keys.